We have made it home, child. I don't know. Look. If you're watching it in real time, thank you for being here. If you're watching the playback, I thank y'all for being here. I might need to turn that light off, huh? Hold on, y'all. Let me turn this light off. Ooh, child, my thighs, y'all, my thighs. I told y'all I ran all those miles. Yeah, until I can figure out where I can get a new hooded oh light for my fish tank. Oh, child, the way my legs hurt. It's one thing to be working out and doing all that, but the struggle behind it, the parts that people don't talk about, the being sore, the being dedicated, like all this stuff. Child, that's the part people don't be talking about. Oh, excuse me. You ever just been tired and it's not, you just tired, right? I think that just happens sometimes. It's Saturday night, it's 10 o'clock. And child, if I was to really touch my bed right now, I would fall asleep. I don't know if you feel that way, but that's how I feel. Oh, they opening their garage. But basically, I just wanted to chit chat. Let's talk because I'm trying to figure out like why we be staying and stuff. Child, that we know we shouldn't be staying in. And the only reason I say we, because I feel like I ain't by myself. Whether this has been in friendships, I didn't have friendships that I knew was kind of like drifting apart. And I don't know. I don't know why. Like I saw the signs. I saw the signs, but I think in the back of my mind, especially when it came to like my friends, and I can talk about it now because I feel like I've healed, I've grown and stuff like that, right? But I was sitting here thinking and I was like, I think this is a character trait of mine because I find myself doing this in a lot of different types of situations. Sometimes it could be like, so when I say financial, I mean like right now with my home. I've been in my home 4 years and I just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like, do I want to stay? Do I want to rent? Do I want to sell? Prime example, friendships. Friendships where I knew things were not doing good. Things were, it was kind of like one-sided. I was pretty much the one nurturing and pouring into and edifying, and the other person was just like taking. But I was just holding on to the fact of like, this has been my friend, and I've known this person since X, Y, and Z. What's another example I could give? Of course, a relationship. I think we all can give a relationship, Lord Jesus. Now I never stayed because of, well, you know what? Let me not say that. I shouldn't say I never stayed because of my kids, because my kids are always like things that I factor into everything. But I never decided to stay just because of the kids. Does that make sense? Like I think when I really have to like soul search in, like me at 42, if I had to soul search and say why I stayed, part of it was just because I'm a loyal person. I will give chance after chance after chance, right? And I can know stuff don't be right. And I'll be like, you know what? It's not me looking at the potential. It's not me holding on to something because I want it to work. It's just, I that's just me. Like I don't know. Maybe you can relate, maybe you can't relate. I'm thinking you can relate. That's why we talking about it, right? Cuz I mean, I wouldn't jump on live and talk to you and it's just like I'm just talking to myself, girl. No. So that would kind of be cray cray, Lulu. Um but I feel, I don't know. I feel like we done all been there. It's just like you probably have in a friendship, in a relationship, in a work situation. Now, I think that's why I say I think it's a character trait, child, because even in works, like, so take for example, when I used to work at the dealership, I worked at that dealership because I've always been one, like, if you know me, you know me. I'll pick up, or in the past, I have picked up multiple jobs, and it would do my whole income that I needed to do because pretty much as a mom, I have to, like, it's their dad. He got his own life, living his own thing. He ain't got to worry about the three with me because he know that they taken care of, provided for, all these things like this, right? But on the flip side of that, I'm the one that is here. I don't get the break, right? So when they were all in different schools, I had to try to be in three places at one time and then still show up for me and be where I had to be. So I think it's safe to say, well, when I'm saying he don't have to worry about his kids, let me make very clear what I'm saying. I'm not making it easy for him to walk away. Honey, when we divorced, we separated. However, that's not letting him off a hook or anything else like this, but I'm a little different. I'm not about to chase you to make you take care of your responsibility. I'm not about to hound you to make you take care of your responsibility. You know that you have children, regardless if you in a new marriage, you're not, or whatever it is that you're doing. You know that you have children, and that's a lifetime responsibility. So it's not ever me making something easy for the next person, because it's not even easy for me. My focus can't be on him and what he's doing. What I'm saying is the responsibility is pretty much 100% mine's in real time, because in real time they live in my home. In real time, I am the one that gets up with them. I am the one that goes here, there, other places, regardless of the fact that we are in two different states, two different things. So that's not me making it easy for anybody. But I understand what you're saying, because I solely agree for you. I don't believe anybody should just be disregarded, because I don't want to say let off the hook, because I don't look at my children like I'm on the hook because I'm their mom. I look at it like I understand why God blessed my womb, why God put life in my womb. Everybody's not fit. Everybody's not created. Everybody can't handle certain responsibilities. And some people just, unfortunately, have not even had kids yet. And I think that comes with being spiritually mature. This is why I said, understanding and recognizing that sometimes we stay in things longer than we need to, even though we know that it's not that type of situation. I knew, despite of what my family was trying to push, despite of what everybody thought it should be, I knew that situation wasn't for me. But out of it came three blessings. So when that situation parted, if you just want to be completely honest, because I'm healed, I can talk about it. If you want to be completely honest, I think we were both disappointed. Both. Think about. I don't know if you've been divorced, but think about even in a relationship or things like that. Sometimes, not all the times, because sometimes you can walk away from stuff and you feel lifted, you feel good. But I think we both experienced every type of situation, type of emotional feeling you could, experience, because ultimately when we got together, that wasn't the goal to part ways. However, I'm going to stand on what I said. He does not have to worry about the kids. He knows that those kids are taken care of. He knows that the kids are provided for and done stuff like that. And that's not saying that he ain't did his part. That's not saying that he hasn't been there or done stuff along the way. But the physicality of it, it just is what it is. He is not in the home. We're not even in the same state at this point anymore. So Could the effort be made? Yes. Is the effort being made? Hell to the nah. But am I gonna sit up and be like, oh well, he not doing? No, girl, I don't. I don't have time. I don't have time because for me, my thing is like, hey, in real time, I need to be present, and in order for me to be present, I have to be there mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Spiritually being number one. Grounded and allowing God to lead me is number one. So when I say that sometimes we be in stuff longer than what we know, you have that gut feeling. I feel like a lot of times people ignore their intuition. People ignore the signs. Sometimes you get signs in your dreams. Sometimes you get confirmations in day-to-day life. Sometimes you just get a sense about a person. You get a sense about a work situation. You can have a sense about your financial situations, your friendships, you know, because it's not necessarily just in a relationship, y'all. I'm talking about, for me, the common denominator is I know that a lot of times in situations, I just give too many chances, I stay too long, or I just go over pros and cons so long in my head, even when God has already kind of given me the sign. And I think that's the part where I am, not I think, because we being honest and we being candid. That's the part where growth has had to happen for me, because it was so many days when really, in all honesty, I would just be back and forth, and I really didn't know what I was, you know, like what I was going to do, how I was going to handle it, or whatever. Point in case, I had, like, when I started really just giving it all to God and asking God, like, you know, okay, God, I know the type of person I am. I didn't, y'all, honestly, I didn't expect him to come in and shift certain friendships that you know what's crazy? I always considered them friendships because of how I was in it. And I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of times we do things, we expect because we do things that people are just giving us that same energy back, even though they may be showing us they're not giving us that energy, even though their actions show us, their words, whether it's the actions and words towards us or to somebody else. The point is, for whatever reason, because we have that emotional connection with them, we wind up ignoring the fact that, hey, this person could do this to us, because nobody sets out to be somebody's friend. Nobody sets out to date somebody. Nobody sets out to get married. Nobody sets out to pick up a career or a job with the intention that this shit gonna go left. This shit might, you know, there's a certain precautionary tale that you take, especially as you have lived. You know, I think when you set out with certain things in your 20s, you have your goals, your aspirations, and things like this, but you're not thinking in an aspect of, what if this happens? Then I need plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G to Z, right? You're not really thinking like that. However, when you start to experience life, go through things, and shit starts to hurt. Point in case, if you, so let's say for a relationship, relationships are always the easiest thing for to say, or business. For me, I can always do relationships, or I can do business, or I can even do friendships. Those three I can always do, because if I talk about my personal experience, how it affected me, how I was able to heal from it, I could talk about that all day. I could talk about it all day because, you know, I healed from it. It's not like we in a wound that we re-agitating, or we're currently in an open wound and we're discussing something. That's not what I'm saying. Which I would, because maybe we roll like that. But nobody. So let's start with a work relationship. I don't think anybody sets out with their career and expect that, you know what, I may fail at this. And the reason I say that is because especially in a career, I'm not talking about a job, a career, you have gone through the training, you have gained the expertise, You have done all the things. You don't, and you're thinking positive, and you have your aspirations, and you up there, 5 years, I plan to be here, da 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 da, clown, whatever the case is. So when I opened my very first salon, I knew I didn't want to work in the umbrella of another salon under people, because when I was in cosmetology school, I just peeped game on how business was ran. I really should have went to school for marketing. How business was ran, how things were done. I saw the ins and outs, and that's what they teach you, right? They teach you the foundations of it. Then I was able to get out. As shy as I was, I had to overcome that, put on my big girl clothes, and get out and network myself, because back then you didn't really have a lot of internet and all that stuff. Baby, it was word of mouth. So I knew that my checks that I made, my compensation, my daily income needed to hit certain things in order for me to be at a certain thing. But nobody sets out to think, like, it's easy to put on paper and say, oh, if I get 10 shampoos at this amount, then I'll make this for the week. But who says you're gonna get 10 shampoos for that week? Who says you're gonna get this? Some days, I had days where I would make a lot because of the service that I was offering, I was doing. Some days, y'all, it was like crickets in there. And I remember some days sitting in my salon, literally crying, like, okay, God, I've invested this, I've done this, I have this, I'm out doing this, my work is speaking for itself. Where is my clientele? Like, I was hustling, I was doing everything. I had a little place in the one of the salon rooms. I had been put into like an in-house daycare for my kids and other people's kids. So when they came, they didn't have to worry about, certain things. Or if I had to work, I didn't have to worry about, because baby, it was many days when I would leave and run to try to go pick them up from a daycare and this and that. And I used to be so trusted and gullible. I remember one time I had a client, she came in, she was a new client, but I thought, listen to what I said, I thought we had built rapport to the point, like, shit, I had brought her in for the consultation. We was talking, we was doing all these different things. And she didn't take anything out of my salon that particular day. But I want to say the third time she came to get her hair done, I noticed at the time I was selling like really high-end dupes of luxury purses, let's put it that way. And she stole one, literally talking to me in my face, the whole thing, coming in like she was coming in to book an appointment, because she had called on the phone and I was on the phone basically with another client. And usually I'm really good at like picking up, but for whatever reason, that particular time I didn't. Baby, she came in that salon just as sure as I'm telling you, like the little thing where I kept all the purses on display. And it was one of those like little Louis Vuitton purses with all the LV monograms on it, but it was like the one that it just came out with like all the little colors on it. It was in different colors. So it wasn't like the traditional brown thing, but it was like the white bag, the little tan strap and accessories with the gold hardware, and the LVs were in different colors. Baby, when I tell you, I literally turned around to stock product as I was talking to her and stuff like that. And I noticed all of a sudden she went from kind of like standing by the display to shit shifted to the door. And like this area looked kind of big because she had on like a little sweat thing. And even before that, and this is why I say being in situations that because when she pulled up, she did something weird. She pulled up and she was looking, and I'm sitting there like, now why is she looking like that? Like, because I'm just like, okay, well, she kind of gave me weird vibes the last time, but I'm not gonna do that. I try not to have preconceived notions about people, but I'm real big on first impressions. Baby, when I say sure as all day she had it under there, I didn't really notice it until kind of when I sat down in my salon chair and was like, man, that was weird. She came in to book the appointment, didn't book the appointment, was sitting and talking over here, and then she moved to the door, and then all of a sudden it was like she had to go. When I noticed the purse was gone, of course, filed a police report. They went to her house. She all but admitted that she had it, but tried to say that she paid me for it. And of course, the police were not going to go into her home. So at that point, it was kind of just like I wrote it off as a loss, right? And Harper, are you okay? And I let it be. But this is the thing, y'all. After that, she came back, right, and tried to apologize. And I mean, it was almost like a year later. Came back, tried to apologize, things like this. And knowing better, I should have took more precautions, but I didn't. I just let it go as water under the bridge. I took her back on as a client, and she did it again. So this is why I'm telling you, like, sometimes you have to recognize the things within yourself so that you can properly heal from them. Because if I wouldn't have healed from these types of things, I would still be allowing people to this day to, people nowadays want to be like playing your face, say this, say that, but I would still be allowing people to do certain things, and I would still be moving certain ways, because even though I didn't know her personally, it hurt me. It hurt me from a business aspect, because I always, and that's something that stuck with me in business as I moved forward. I always felt like, why do people do this to people that are in business when you go out your way to do a business? Like, I mean, literally, I came out my pocket. Then I remember at one point, my mom helped me like stage, because she was in Lake Charles, I was in Beaumont, and I'm not talking about my salon in Longview, I'm talking about the one in Beaumont. She drove from Lake Charles to come help me stage and decorate and clean the space. I mean, it was just like a lot of hard work went into just creating an atmosphere for my clients that would make them feel comfortable, welcome, make them feel like they could come in and really, just be at ease, receive their service, be educated, feel comfortable if they wanted to talk or anything. And I never understood, like, if I went through all of that to pour into you, why would you take from me, right? Same thing if we go to a relationship, same thing. If we're in a marriage and I am committed to you, I am doing everything I am supposed to do because I understand that I'm in a threefold covenant, why would you break that covenant? I can forgive you the first time. God says forgive 77 times 7. So I can forgive you and keep forgiving and practicing forgiveness, because that's not necessarily for you. That's for me. That's how you heal. That's what a lot of people don't understand. But I think that's why I'm so grateful I have y'all like as my community, because a lot of times I feel like we be on the same page. I feel like because we're all kind of like in the same age group, the same thing, we understand that, sometimes you could say, well, forgiveness ain't for you, it's for me. Yeah, that's very cliche. But I think once you go through things and you start understanding things, you start realizing that, you know what? When I do forgive, when I do that, I grow. And it's not about it being for you or for me or for that person. No, I grow, because at some point, whatever seed was planted, right? Whether I chose to go to the store and buy that seed, baby, whether you gave me the seed for free, whether you were a tree and you was next to me and the wind blew and baby, that seed took root. Whatever the case, whatever seed was planted, if it wasn't harvested right, if it wasn't done right, guess what? At some point, I understand that I got to get back in there and do the work to fix the situation. It's not about what the person did wrong to you, like to the subscriber earlier. And if y'all like this, go ahead and subscribe if y'all not on the channel, because we're just talking. It's not about letting somebody off the hook, whether it's in a friendship, whether it's at a job and you feel disrespected, whether it's in a friendship and somebody wrongs you, whether it's in a marriage and somebody wrongs you, or whatever the case. The true thing about it is, if you just want to be real, how can I say it? When you forgive, when you grow, when you do all those things, not only does it teach you who you are, not only does it make you understand things that you truly value, what's important, what doesn't deserve your time, but just as a person, right? Just as a person, it makes you reflect and learn that the lesson is not about the other person. It's not about the other person. It was about you. It was about you from the start. But when you are in the situation sometimes, because that was me, when I was in the situation, I was so hell bent on, well, this person did me this, and that person did me this, and it wasn't right. And I was always a private person, so I wouldn't really call my friends and talk to my friends about certain things. My friends would always call me and gain stuff and talk to me or ask me for my opinions and stuff like this. But a lot of times, y'all, I was sitting there and I was going through my own stuff. So I've never been a person to try to like overstep my boundaries, tell you what I would do, what I wouldn't do. I ain't never been that type of friend. I've always been the type of friend like, I'll listen. If you ask me my opinion, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pray with you, and then I will give you my opinion. And this is real talk. This ain't me feeding you no bullshit, no nothing like this. Because I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not any of those types of things. I'm just literally your friend. So for me, what is this floating down at the bottom of the thing? I can't see it. A heart, child. Y'all, my eyes getting so bad. I thought I seen like a smiley face or something. I don't know if it was a smiley face or a laughing emoji. I don't know. Oh, Vanessa, girl, you ain't got to hear my story. Who was shot out? Don't y'all wild out in these comments now. I'm doing great tonight, honey. Just got the phone with one of my good friends, and so that's what kind of like inspired this conversation, because me and her was having girl talk, and we was just like, girl, yeah, like, just recognizing like we've grown and how we've healed and how beautiful it is to be a woman, right? Just how beautiful it is to embrace where we are. It is laughing emojis. I don't know what the hell y'all laughing at. Or am I tripping? I see the hearts, but every once in a while I see like a laughing emoji. Child laugh, I don't care. Shit. Trust me, I don't care. But just thinking about like how it is and what I mean, the beauty about being a woman, I'm not talking about physicalities or anything. I'm just talking about really growing as a woman and reflecting, and now like having my own kids where I can really be candid and share my past experiences with them as they go into young adulthood, as teenagers, because they're not adults yet, but I mean, they're at the teenage age, right? So it's being able to say or share and just be open, and don't get it twisted, y'all. I'm not saying as a parent I got it all the way figured out, I got it all the way right, like, not at all, because you just never know, like, you just never know. Let me put it that way. You just never know. Like, I think a lot of times, even when I was growing up, people will not realize that just because you're a certain age, you have feelings, you think about things too. You deal with different emotions about things. You always just get told, like, you a kid, you don't understand. You a kid, you don't understand. But I remember as a child, I understood a lot of shit that was going on. I was peeping game. I just was intuitive like that. I would look at situations and be like, dag. From young, I knew, like, in my mind, like, how I wanted to live, how I didn't want to live. That, I just knew, like, okay. And it's not because I really seen a bunch of people in my family struggling, but I did sometimes see, and I hate to say struggle, because a lot of times, y'all, we use the wrong words when we describe situations, and those words take root and give power. You're not struggling if your bills are paid and you're doing stuff. And really, even if your bills are not paid, that's still not a struggle, right? A struggle is something you wrestle with. A struggle is something like just completely out of your control that you just can't overcome. You can't triumph over it. You can't do this. Living paycheck to paycheck is not necessarily a struggle, right? You may not have a certain skill set, but that does not mean that it's a struggle. And I think that those things are taught, those things are learned. That's one thing, like I can say I'm blessed that because I lived with older people, I was taught financial skill sets from a young age, and now I'm able to turn around and share those things not only with my kids, but I'm also to share them like when I would have clients. I'm also to share it with my friends. Y'all be surprised how many of my friends call me and ask me about things, certain types of accounts and things that they can do or ways they can save when they feel like they're living, I don't want to say paycheck to paycheck, but when things are tight. I am very much a person that I'm just like I'm gonna always make sure like my financial responsibilities are taken care of, and I'll never say like, oh well, now I'm broke because these things are like I just that's not how I think. Like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it to you because I don't want nobody to get offended or feel a certain way, like how the lady earlier when I was like, the responsibility is on me, and she was in. I'm gonna go off of what I read. It was almost like she felt I was giving an escape to their dad. I'm not giving nobody no escape, baby, because at the end of the day, I don't have to. I don't stand before God for him. I stand before God for myself. So he'll have to answer to God. Vengeance is not mine, says the Lord. They're God's. So with that, I'm not being dumb. I'm not being crazy. I'm not. It's just like if you was in a relationship and a person cheats on you. Most people, say what you want to say, but most people will stay. They will stay the first time. They will stay maybe the second. You have very few people that's going to just be like, baby, I'm done and walk away. I've always been a I'm done and I walk away type person. But when it comes to like matters of the heart, I would stay. I would give people chances, things like this. So it is kind of like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of times we know better. You already know what's going on. And it comes to like, okay, why do I stay? And I think a lot of times I sit down my own self and I try to like kind of like figure out, well, why was I really staying? If I go back and I think back on that situation, even though it was 20 years ago, or even in my previous marriage, if I go back and be like, well, why was I staying? What was the reason I was staying? A lot of times it was not for the right reasons. Like I can really say in the last one, it was not about how other people perceived me. It was how I was perceiving myself. I was perceiving myself like, if this marriage does not work, I failed. I failed again. Like, and so that's on me. That's not on nobody else. And so it's like, okay, well, even though these things are happening and even though these signs was there, even though I knew better, okay, I'm in this situation. So how do I fix it? And I think the biggest problem there was the I, because it was two people in the situation. It wasn't just a one for me to be saying I. So it's the same thing in the friendships. When I prayed and I asked for God to increase me in other areas, I noticed that areas that were not serving me or whatever, he removed from me, and I it was unexpected, right? That's why you have to really, I tell y'all all the time, words have power. You have to really be careful with what you're saying, how you saying it, how you going about doing it, because child, you'll look up and God will be elevating you. And sometimes when you are elevated, not all the times, but sometimes when you are elevated, everybody don't come on that journey with you. Everybody ain't meant to be. Really, a lot of them people probably was never meant to be there from the start. From the jump, they weren't supposed to be there. And you already knew, so you ain't know. You ain't know. You gonna sit here and tell me that you ain't had a friend, that you was like, yeah, we friends, blah, 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 blah. We've known each other from this age to this age, or we met each other in college, we met in high school, and this, and that. And you gonna sit here and tell me that you didn't know that friend did things that you really didn't agree with, but you felt like, oh, I could be their friend. I don't do it, but I could still be their friend. You telling me you didn't notice they was moving shady with other people, and you was like, Dad, why they doing like that thing crazy, baby? She crazy. That thing over there crazy. You might even go as far as to tell them like, girl, now why you do that? Girl, you know better. Right there is your validation that This is not how I move. This ain't how I align. This isn't the type of stuff that I do. So in that moment, like, let's be for real. Why would you sit up and continuously be that person's friend? Why do you stay? If you know it don't agree in your spirit, and that's not how you move, and that's not how you would do things, why do you continue to stay? Why do you call that person a friend? I think like that's the questions we have to answer. Like, why do you call that person a friend at that point? Because is that really a friend? Because if the table turned and they do it to you, which eventually they will, because it's their character trait. They're showing you who they are. You just for some reason have put into your thing that, girl, that thing crazy. We have a good time, but that thing crazy. She did da 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 da. Now I wouldn't do that. I keep her on track. I like. Why do you take on the position to fill the role to try to help stop her, help or fix or nurture or feel you could save the person or whatever when they're showing you who they are? If you know, if that friend like to always go out and club and you not no club in person, but yet because y'all friends, you go against what it is you want to do to go out with them, and then you do that, and y'all always get. Let me tell y'all, I remember I had a friend. It may not be as big as what I'm talking about, but I had a friend. I'm not gonna give a timeline. I'm just gonna say we used to always go out to eat. Now I'm a person that cooks, so right there that lets you know I'm not really big on going out to eat. Every time we would go out to eat, it never failed. Baby, I wouldn't even be able to sit down at the table, friend. Do you hear me? By the time we would get, because she always wanted to sit on the inside, by the time we would get to the thing, she was already complaining. She done either found something in her food. Her food ain't right. The food this, the food that. She wanted for free. It was every single time. It never failed. Every single time. It never failed. And I always felt uncomfortable. I addressed it maybe like after I noticed it was kind of like a habit, because I wanted to know where this came from, where it stemmed from. But do y'all know to this day, I still would call her a friend. She don't call, she don't text, she don't anything. She's even acted funny at different times, right? And I've noticed it. Other people have noticed it. But it's never been anything directly to me for me to be like, well, I don't want to be her friend, or well, I don't want to. And I'm not just talking about the food. I'm talking about with like a bunch of other things. So my whole thing is like, once again, why stay in certain situations longer than you need to? Because sometimes we just put forth the energy, because it's not always about just being a good person. It's just sometimes when that's who you are, if that's your character trait, that's just what you do. But my point is, y'all, pour that into yourself. Because when you pour that into yourself, when you pour it into yourself, you will start to naturally reflect. Naturally, people will see who you are. And when people see who you are, sometimes people be wanting to be around you for the wrong reasons, attached to you for the wrong reasons. Because everybody likes shit that's shiny, right? Everybody likes something that's shiny. Everybody want to be around positivity. Believe it or not, negativity is drawn to positivity. Just like you got light, you got dark, right? So you have to get to a point where when you notice certain things, I'm not saying be ugly to people. I'm not saying go to work and flip out on your boss. I ain't telling you do none of that. I ain't telling you go call your ex. And really, you shouldn't be calling your ex, child. If it's your ex, it's your ex. You shouldn't be having no ties and associations. Where is it saying message held for review? What does this say? What? So we're going to hide. I wish there was a way I could block certain things, because, child, what are you talking about? I must don't have no moderators in the chat for tonight. And hey to everybody coming on. Thank y'all to everybody that's watching. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all talking crazy. If there's any moderators in the chat, y'all go ahead, take care of them comments. Don't forget, why is my child up there? She gets so involved in her TV shows, baby. She be up there screaming thumbs up, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Check out some of the vlogs. Come and talk and chill with your girl. Got hair tips, all that good stuff for y'all. Life tips, everything. We always talking about something that's just gonna pour into you, right? But I'm just saying, I don't know, y'all. Like, sometimes you just gotta do self-examination, and there's never nothing wrong with continuously examining. I said examining, child. You know I'm tired. There's nothing wrong with self-reflecting, asking yourself why you do certain things. It's really nothing wrong with going to counseling either. It's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people shy away from it, but it's really nothing wrong with it. Whether you're doing it online, whether you're going in person, whatever. It's good to have your friends that you talk to. It's good to maybe have a parent or somebody close that you can talk to. But y'all, a lot of times they not equipped to really give the type of tools that we need to kind of navigate. Now, for sure, you should be in your word, right? You should know God for yourself, be in your word, and utilize that first and foremost. Stop hard, but there is nothing wrong with counseling. There's also nothing wrong with talking to somebody. I got about three. I probably could say I got about 6 to 8 people that I could call if I really needed to open up, talk, go into deep deets, and do all of that. I do. I have people that I trust like that, right? That I trust like that, and they trust me like that. That I could just talk to candidly, right? And that's cool because sometimes you need that release. Sometimes you need that sense of like, okay, I need to talk. I need a event, or I need, just to release, or sometimes you just might want to pick somebody else's brain. Huh? I don't, CJ, you gonna have to go in timeout. I don't even know how they do. Yeah. Yeah, you gonna have to go in timeout because I don't know what you got going on. Thank you, Franklin, for pointing it out. I don't know, y'all. I'm saying all that just to say, like, y'all saw the title, y'all clicked on the live stream, y'all here, y'all understand what it is. All I'm saying is just take a pause. Take a pause, take you a little self thing to yourself. Figure out some shit that you got going on, because I guarantee you, you are already equipped with the tools that you need to get yourself to accomplish the things that you want. It's different from having a goal, and it's different from being successful. You can have a goal, but if you never, ever, ever tap into the exercise that it takes to